Hello and welcome to Happy Yogis. This is the second week of the meditation for peaceful weight loss. Last week we talked around cortisol and the impact that has on our bodies, how it helps our bodies maintain levels of fat, and how stress can impact the levels of cortisol in our bodies. And the more stress we've got, the more cortisol we've got, the more our bodies hold on to fat. We run from the fight, flight, freeze response rather than the rest and digest. And through meditation, we can kickstart our rest and digest and actually the relaxation response. But when we've got that cortisol going around, it can be a bit of a self-perpetuating cycle. So through meditation, we can kind of lose a little bit of that cortisol problem, and we become calm even and more peaceful. So this week we are going to talk about the mindfulness of thought. So being mindful of our thoughts and how it's possible to change our patterns of behavior. So can we change the way we think? Well, yes, we can. Often our thoughts will rule our lives. Negative self-talk, I'm not good enough, I've failed at this, I've fallen off the wagon, I might as well not bother for the rest of the week. All of those sort of self-sabotaging thoughts. But we can rewire our brains. So to do that, we become the observer of our minds. So by observing our minds, we become aware of the patterns, our habitual responses, and how our emotions affect our choices and behavior. And then with that awareness, we can tap into the unconscious mind to consciously change our thoughts. Even people who are well educated around the body, how it works, and nutrition can sometimes struggle to lose weight if they forget how powerful the unconscious mind is. So it's something to bear in mind. And another thing is how modern processed foods can change the chemical balance in our bodies, like change our hormones, and that in turn can change our brain function. So by trying to give ourselves a better awareness around nutrition, it allows us to make better choices, which in the longer term can then become automatic choices, and they will be based on what is healthy for our bodies rather than if we are currently making unhealthy choices. Not that you might all be doing that, but you wouldn't be here if you weren't trying to make some changes in your life. So training our minds. You might have heard the term monkey mind. Basically, this is where it's like a monkey has got into your brain and it's like throwing your thoughts here, there, and everywhere. And we become distracted and confused, and we've got no clear direction, or our thought patterns are really jumbled. But by using specific techniques, we can retrain our brain and we can bring our busy minds under control. So we control our thoughts rather than our minds being a random jumble of thoughts, which sometimes don't serve us particularly well. So I've said before, probably many times, and I definitely said last week, that our minds are designed to be busy. Our minds are thought factories, really. But we can control the level of busyness. And we do that by meditating on a focal point or object. So it's something to focus on during the meditation, so that when our mind does wander, which I'm sure it will, I don't think anyone is really immune to that. So when your mind does wander, you can bring it back to the focal point that you've got. So tonight we're going to be doing a focus on the breath, and then also mindfulness of thought, and they will be our meditation objects, and that will be what we come back to if our mind does wander. So the breath is always with us, and it's actually one of the oldest ways of meditating on your breath. And last week we did a basic breath meditation where we were just following our breath in and out. We chose a point within our body to feel the breath coming in and out, maybe through your nostrils, your chest or your belly rising and falling. But this week we're going to mix it up a bit, and we're going to actually introduce a count. And this is really good for checking exactly how mindful you are being, because the lower the number you get to before you get distracted, the less mindful you are. So basically, if you can count only to 3, then you're not very mindful. But if you can get to 21, which eventually is the aim of this counting meditation, then you know that you are actually being very mindful, because you've counted to 21 without being distracted away from the object of your meditation. So when we count, it also gives our mind something to concentrate on. So it can make the meditation less boring, and it can make it less likely that you'll be distracted. Not saying that you won't be distracted, but it's probably that you will be less likely to be distracted. This meditation is quite hard. So it's not as pleasant as some of the other meditations that we might do, especially not some of the visualizations, which are really quite pleasant. But this one, you have to work a little bit. So you have to keep your attention on what we're doing. And if you do get distracted, my favorite saying, or one of my favorite sayings, is come back with compassionate kindness to the object of your meditation, which in this case is the breath and the count. So if you lose count, you just come back to the beginning, back to 1. And if you find that you've gone off on a tangent, then just restart the meditation at the beginning. So settle yourself into a comfortable posture. You can sit in a chair, or I'm sitting on a cushion, actually, a meditation cushion. And I'm sitting in what they call easy posture, which is where my heels are aligned with each other and they're parallel to them. They're in line with the center of my body. So if you're sitting in a chair, your thighs should be parallel to the ground and your feet should be flat to the floor. And then we're going to have a nice straight spine. We're going to have our hands, right hand in left, and our thumbs touching. And we're going to have those at the midpoint, round about our belly button. And then you'll find that when you've got your arms hanging loosely from your shoulders, there's going to be a natural little bit of air between your torso and your arms. And then the next thing we're going to consider is our heads, which should be following a nice straight line from the back through neck to head. You might need to tip your chin slightly forward. And then our jaw, which should be held loosely. And this is not very easy to say, but the tip of the tongue is behind the back of the top front teeth. And then your eyes can either be closed or they can be cast down about 35 degrees. Up to you, whichever you find most comfortable. It is said that if you meditate with your eyes open, then it's easier to take your meditative state into your normal day-to-day life. But that's not to say meditating with your eyes closed won't allow you to do that. Plus, if you're a beginner, it might be easier for you to get into the meditation zone if you have got your eyes closed. I do get that reported back by a lot of people who are just starting out with meditation. So up to you how you want to have your eyes closed or cast down at about 30 degrees. So once you're in your comfortable posture, if we've got a calm body, it's easier to have a calm mind. So just make sure that you are comfortable. And then we'll begin by concentrating on our breath. As we breathe in and out. And just become aware of your breath. And then now we're going to add a pause between the inhale and the exhale. So breathe in, beginning, middle, end, then hold, beginning, middle, end, then breathe out, beginning, middle, end. And just keep going with that, breaking your breath into 9 parts. The inhale, beginning, middle, end, retention, beginning, middle, end, exhale, beginning, middle, end. And just get used to following those 9 parts of your breath. And now we'll start to count. Start your count at the end of the in-breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now continue. And each time you get to 4, swap to a different part of your breath. So once you've done the end of the in-breath, move to the end of the retention and count up to 4 breaths. Then once you've done that, swap your count to the end of the exhale and count again up to 4 breaths. Once you've achieved that, either start again or start to count backwards. Keep going till I call you back. If your mind has wandered, just come back to the beginning. Start again at 1. So come back to your room. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And open your eyes if they were closed. So hopefully you were able to keep your count and you were mindful and able to get to 4. But if not, as I say, compassionate kindness is the key. And the more you do this meditation, the easier it will be. And eventually you'll be able to get up to 21. So if you'd like to comment at all, then please just email me back. So I'm going to send you this by email. And we're going to get on with the next meditation. So we're going to talk about mindfulness of thought. There's 4 foundations of mindfulness. Mindfulness of body, which includes your breath, mindfulness of feeling, mindfulness of thought, and mindfulness of phenomenon. We don't really go into phenomenon very much, but sometimes we touch on it. And there's quite a nice meditation on a sultana or a piece of chocolate, which hopefully we will get to do. So when we're unhappy, it's because we have a greater number of unhappy thoughts than happy ones. Kind of makes sense. But to change thoughts, we first have to be aware that that's what's happening. And once we're aware of them, we can actually transform them. Once you put attention onto the thought, becoming aware of it, you find that it can dissipate, or you can change the way that your thinking is working. That is kind of the way mindfulness CBT works, by getting whoever is going through that therapy to become aware of the thought processes that are making them behave in a certain way, so that they can stop those thought processes in their tracks and change the processes so that they are able to lead a happier, more peaceful and calm life. And also, when we become aware of emotions, we can dissipate the power that it has. The disassociation helps us, well, it kind of, it helps us see the other side of us. That kind of makes us sound like schizophrenics, but that's not what I'm saying. The observer sees what's happening in the mind, and then the mind can't be happening and being observing. So the observer generally takes over. So it means that the thoughts or the emotions that, or the negative thoughts and emotions that are going on, once you start observing them, the observer takes over, and those thoughts kind of fade away and you no longer have that thought or emotion. So it's actually quite clever. But to catch thought is very hard. And the next best thing is to catch feelings in daily life. So if we can catch a feeling and analyse what thoughts cause that feeling to happen, and usually there are a few, it's not just usually one thought that makes an emotion or a feeling come up. And then we're practicing the middle two of the mindfulness phenomenon. We're practicing mindfulness of feeling and mindfulness of thought. But tonight we're just going to do the mindfulness of thought. So just make sure that you're still in a comfortable position in which to meditate from. If you've been sat in the same position for a while, you might find that your legs or your feet have gone to sleep. That's quite common in meditation. But we all know that when you do get pins and needles on your feet and they go to sleep, it's not going to last. It's only a temporary phenomenon and it will go away. So just if you're finding that, just give your feet or your legs a little massage, get rid of the pins and needles, and just set yourself up so that you're in a comfy position. And we're going to do another, maybe about 10-minute meditation where we're going to focus on our thoughts. So our meditation object is going to be our thoughts. So get into your dignified posture. So where your legs form a solid base and your spine is straight and tall. Your hands rest at the middle part of your body, kind of representing balance in our lives. Right hand to the left and our thumbs are touching. Our arms hang loosely from our shoulders, which are away from our ears. Our head is held high, following on the straight line from spine through neck to head. Our jaw is loose and the tip of the tongue is behind the back of the top front teeth. And then our eyes are either cast down, maybe at about 35 degrees, or they're closed, whichever is most comfortable, whichever is more conducive to a good meditation. And then we're going to bring our awareness to our breath. Just take some long, slow, deep breaths. Breathing in. And out. In. And out. Just keep breathing. And then bring your awareness to the thought that's happening in your head. And repeat to yourself the name of that thought or emotion. Keep doing it in time with the breath. Say it 3 times. For example, legs. 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 Just say it in your head at the end of the in-breath, before the out-breath. And say it 3 times. And come to the next thought or emotion and say that 3 times in time with your breath. Try not to get on a train of thought. If you do, come back to the breath and start with naming your individual thoughts again. Label the thoughts and focus on them as an observer, not getting involved with the thought, just being the observer. Notice if emotion dissolves. I'll mind the time again and call you back at the end. If your mind has wandered, just return to the breath. Then start with naming your individual thoughts again. So come back to your room, back to where you're meditating. Gently flutter your eyes open and maybe have a stretch out. If you have got the distraction of your feet or legs or any other part of your body going to sleep or having pins and needles. So hopefully with that mindfulness of thought, you were able to keep your focus on the individual thoughts and you didn't go off into a train of thought or a movie in your head. That is how our mind can work. And if that happens, then don't worry, just be compassionate to yourself, be compassionate and kind, and don't worry, because the more you meditate, the easier it will be. But even seasoned meditators sometimes have difficulty in keeping their mind from going off at a tangent and becoming that monkey mind that we talked about earlier. The best way to become mindfulness, the best way to become mindful of our thoughts is to meditate as a habit, making it into a habit. And the best way to do that is to find the time of day that meditation works for you. There's also, when we're starting out, a couple of other pointers that I can give you is that do it in the same place. So find a place that really works for you, a chair maybe that looks out into the garden or a beautiful space, or maybe set yourself up a little meditation shrine and sit in front of that, or just in your favorite chairs, just find somewhere that you're able to spend some time just doing a meditation every day. There's a man that works with Deepak Chopra called Daviji, and he coined the phrase RPM. Well, he probably didn't. He wasn't the first person to use those initials, but that means rise, P, meditate. And basically, it's a good way to do it because it means you start your meditation before the chaos of the day overtakes us, and that does happen. It certainly happens to me. I find if I don't meditate first thing in the morning, then it's really difficult to find another time in the day because there's so many other competing priorities. But it might not work for you. You might have to do something immediately you wake up, and you've got space in the afternoon where you have time every day that you can spend just a little bit of time for you. And the time is another pointer I can give you. It's always best to start small. If you start small, you're more likely to be able to do it every day. If you say to yourself, oh, I'm going to do an hour, you won't have an hour every day, and then you'll put it off. You'll say, I haven't got an hour today. This is how our minds work. I'm going to do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, you're like, oh, I haven't got an hour today. I'll do it. And before you know it, probably a week has gone by and you haven't had any day where you've had an hour. So I would say, think about how long you want to meditate for. So say maybe 10 or 15 minutes, then cut that time by half. So you're doing like 5 or 7 minutes. And then once you've mastered the art of doing 5 or 7 minutes every day, then gradually start to build your time up. So we've got the same time, the same place, the amount of time. Those are all really good ways of getting into the habit of meditation. If you miss your meditation for whatever reason, again, one of my favorite sayings is come back with compassionate kindness. You've missed it, so you're going to do it tomorrow, or pick it up when you've missed it. If you haven't got 5 or 7 minutes to spend on your meditation, then maybe just do one of my favorite meditations, which is the single breath meditation. And you just breathe in, breathe out. So your awareness is just on your breath, just as you breathe in and breathe out. And just keep your awareness on your breath as you breathe in and breathe out. And I say do a single breath meditation because that's what it is. You're just going to do, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. But after you do one, you're more likely to think to yourself, I'll just do another one, just do another one. And then before you know it, you can easily have done 5 minutes. If you really can't spare the time to do a formal meditation practice every day, then just try when you're doing something that doesn't require your full attention. So if you're in a queue somewhere, or I don't know, if you're on the loo, you can just follow your breath. Just be aware of your breath whilst you're in the queue or whilst you're on the loo. And then you're actually doing a meditation, you're becoming mindful of your breath. And then you just go along with your cue, go, like, I guess, like a minimal amount of your brain is engaged in the cue, maybe 5%, and the 95% is doing your breath meditation. And if you do it with your eyes open, then nobody's going to even know that you're doing it, so you don't have to feel stupid, and nobody's going to be staring at you going, oh, what's she doing? But anyway, that's a couple of hints and tips for increasing your meditation. And as I said before, the more you meditate, the more you are able to get a handle on your thoughts. And then when you get a handle on your thoughts, you're able to control them better. And that ultimately leads us to have a more peaceful and calm life. And it also stops us, it allows us to stop those self-sabotaging thoughts in their tracks, because we say, oh no, I know that that's just my thoughts, and then you can change the way you are thinking. And if you do that, the naming the thought meditation that we did, if you do that a few times on these negative thoughts that you're having, or the possible negative thoughts that you're having, then they will dissolve under the scrutiny of you as the observer. So that's all from me for today. So thank you for listening. If you've got this far, I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you do have any thoughts about what the meditations are, if you've got any questions or anything, then just drop me an email, which is office@happyyogis.co.uk. But for now, I'll say namaste. Thank you for listening, and I will hopefully see you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.